Welcome back, everyone, to a Dragon's Dogma 2 video. This is going to be my critique. Basically, my review of Dragon's Dogma after, well, 146 hours. 146.1 hours to be exact. I'm in the unmoored world right now. I've gotten these achievements, the Guardian. Basically, I've completed every quest there is that I could find in the unmoored world. I'm just exploring, gathering resources, etc. Now, I want to show you a quick comparison here. Play time right now, 146 hours in Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, in Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, I had 235 hours. But you have to keep in mind that also includes the time I've spent, Bitter Black Isle and whatnot. I mean, that thing is just the gas. I mean, just going back, farming it, trying different vocation builds in there. Not to mention, farming it to actually get different styles of gear and whatnot. That it's kind of something that's lacking in Dragon's Dogma 2. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this critique in a little more detail. I'm going to try to stay on my bullet points with this. Yes, there's going to be some elaboration on different things I want to talk about based on my personal experience. Some of you I know for a fact can relate with this. So let's hop into it right now. Okay, so as far as my critique goes of the game, let's start with stamina. Now, I know in the first game, we had the same issues with stamina drain based on our carry weight, different things going on. But considering our lack of fast travel opportunities in Dragon's Dogma 2, I think it would be really cool if the stamina consumption out of combat, and I don't mean just inside of a city, I mean anywhere if you're not in combat, was at least cut by 50%. I personally was not having an issue with the inventory and the weight type of stuff. I was generally running at medium, well, to be honest with you, heavy weight almost all the time. But the constant bending over, huffing and puffing and dying left and right because of that, unless you want to endlessly pop stamina potions, which doesn't work too well because of the money cost. We've all been there. Stamina is definitely an issue. Let's talk about the fast travel, the ferrystones. Okay, Dragon's Dogma 1, we had the Eternal Ferrystone, but that did not come to be until the DLC release, Dark Arisen. My biggest problem with the Ferrystone issue in my first playthrough of Dragon's Dogma 2 was the constant price. 10,000 gold, 10,000 gold, 10,000 gold. I mean, it became difficult to increase my gold amount without having to get ferrystones because honestly, after you've been back and forth in a certain area multiple times, it does get a little bit old. There's not that big of a change with the mob varieties you encounter. And unless I'm really doing active exploring, opening the map up, to me, that's kind of a waste of time, of my real life time. So, I think it would be really cool if we could reduce the price of ferrystones. Say, cut the price in half to at least 5,000 gold. Or even better yet, in your regular playthroughs, why not have a very low percentage chance of ferrystones dropping off the mobs that you kill? I mean, think about it. Especially with all the goblins, all the hobgoblins, or all the groups of skeletons, or the saurians non-stop around every corner, it seems like. Why not have like anywhere from a 1 to 5% drop ratio for these fairy stones? Help keep us equipped. You want to limit fast travel? Make it cost gold to buy it. I get it, okay? Port crystals, I did not have a problem with the port crystals. I mean, you get one from the main story quest. If you're dealing with the Sphinx, if you do it right, you can get 2 from the Sphinx. You can get 1 in the Griffin Nest, in the Misty Marshes. You can also get another port crystal from doing the Elven quest line as well. And so, that's like, what, 5? I think there might be 6 total you can get into the game. But yeah, that's my feeling about the fairy stones fast travel. My next issue with the fast travel, though, is the oxcart system. Now, I personally don't have a problem with the oxcart system. I love the oxcart system. It's unpredictable when you're going to get attacked. However, I can't count how many times the oxcart got destroyed, right? And then you're like, oh, kind of left out there in the middle of nowhere, and you have to hoof it on foot. But I would love to see oxcart locations kind of spread into a couple other locations or close to those. Mainly being here. Well, yeah, I can open the map up here. We should be able to bring it up. I think if we had an oxcart location somewhere over here in this vicinity, around the Nameless Village, that would be awesome. And if we definitely had one up here around Sacred Arbor, that would be really killer too. Because these quests up here, you guys know the ones I'm talking about, especially when you're doing the dwarven blacksmithing clear down in Bokbatal. Oh, it's crazy. Now, yeah, I know that she does give you a fairy stone, but there again, that takes me back to the fairy stone part of what I was talking about. Maybe have a small percentage drop rate for those fairy stones. And by the way, the fairy stones do become quite plentiful here in the unmoored world, so keep that in mind. Let's talk about mob variety and density. Oh boy, yeah. It's like every time you turn a corner, another group of the same mobs, another group of the same mobs. I'm all for fighting mobs. I got no problem with that. But I'll tell you what, the one thing I'm sick of, oh my gosh, every corner, saurians, 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 saurians. I mean, yeah, at low level when you're first in the game, yeah, those things are a challenge. Heck, they're still a challenge at my level right now. Yeah, we know you had a queer experience, and I'm sorry, Jessa, but it's okay. You got through it. Mob variety, though. If we had some different mobs in the game, if we kind of cut back on the density in some areas, out in the open world, that would be kind of nice. With the exception of nighttime. Okay, nighttime, I expect there to be mobs littered everywhere. Like here in the unmoored world. Oh boy, you got to watch out for those Doolahans. They are no joke. But I'd love to see some things corrected just in the regular game playthrough to where some of these items that we do need to upgrade before you come here to the unmoored world would be available. My understanding is there is supposed to be like a wraith or something in those caves up there by the Elven Village where Eldrasite will drop. I mean, a lot of people have said it. I've even been out there with pawns that have the the pathfinding or the foraging skill. And yeah, there's supposed to be something in there. Nothing shows up. I don't know if that was accidental. But the game's been out for a while. It certainly hasn't been fixed, at least that I've experienced. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. Main story quest, and we're going to talk about that combined with side quest. I really enjoyed the main story quest. But once I got into Batal, it seemed like it suddenly, like a fast forward button was pushed, and boom, there, your game is done. You're a new game plus, right? Yeah, and I was kind of like, whoa, I kind of felt like there needed to be a little bit more, like, lore going on in the main story quests there once we got to Batal and back Batal with the individuals, and of course the side quest as well. You know, I think there could have been a little bit more lore or even more side quests to flush out more lore of what's going on in this particular Dragon's Dogma universe. And you guys let me know in the comments what you feel about that. The other thing, talking about quests, my first playthrough, there were so many quests that I missed. And yeah, it's because I didn't go to certain areas, I didn't talk to certain NPCs, or, you know, go close enough to them, or pay attention to some squabble going on in the street, right? Okay, I understand those are indicators, hey, there might be a quest here. But my second playthrough, I did research, watching other videos and whatnot before I did my second playthrough, and I went to some of these areas, and yes, there were a lot of quests I did pick up that I had missed in my first playthrough. But there were a lot of areas I went to, and the quest would not pop. Bottom line, they would not show up. I did not have the option. And, you know, I didn't find any workaround for it. I actually did get a couple of them to pop. There was one quest I had for the coral snakes. You know, and the irony with that quest is the quest did actually pop after it should have actually popped. But then at some point in the whole process, when I was in the jail area there in Back Batal, I had inadvertently released the individual out of jail, and he instantly vanishes. And of course, that was the end of the quest. But yet the quest kept telling me to go there and talk to the guy. I even went clear back to the location of the coral snake's hideout, you know, thinking I'd seen something where, you know, there were some individuals that would be standing out inside of that big gate. Never ever happened for me. That was prior to coming to the unmoored world, so I don't know what happened there. I would love to see an option in the game settings where, as a player, you could turn on some kind of a quest marker that shows up on the map, on NPCs, showing you where potential quests might be. You know, I know they didn't want that in the game design, but I really think that would be helpful, because there's content that I missed in the game because I think there are some bugs going on behind it. Final iteration I'm going to talk about here is the map size. Okay, even though the map is definitely 4 times bigger than Dragon's Dogma 1, let's be real on some certain points here. There is a lot of ground that you cannot get to. Okay, no matter what you do. Yes, some areas are accessible if you place objects and you jump and jump and jump until, you know, your little heart's content like a jumping bunny, or you bring in some harpies, you happen to catch a perfect flight to get up on that ledge, you know, into that cave entrance and drop that ladder. But a lot of area is actually inaccessible. So overall, once you've been through this world a few times, like I have and everyone else has, you guys know what I'm talking about, it's not as big as it actually appears. I mean, that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of stuff to explore and a lot of things you can miss or not have access to. So just keep that in mind. There are things you can do to gain access, but there's still a lot of areas, you know, like all the cliff sides, everything else, that you're simply not going to get up to. It's just not going to happen. And I think on the final note, I know I said that was a final note, but I can't help but see a familiar sight in front of me. This reminds me of the big main hall from Grand Soren. I mean, it just, I mean, doesn't this just, you remember this, right? You come in, right? Here's your side entrances. This would go to your gel. Wouldn't this go to your, yeah, this would go down to your gel. Check this out. Look at this.
A door of sturdy make.
And there is a gel down here. Look at this.
We shall have to find the key then.
I noticed this the other day. I want to just put this in this video because I don't know if this is intentional, but I mean, and of course, this would have been the other doorway, but it's closed off. Rubble. The Great Hall. I mean, yeah, you know, and maybe there's some things that aren't exactly right on cue. Like, you know, there were doorways. In the original one, there were doorways up here. You know, but we do have a passage through here. And then, of course, this is where, yeah, and the balcony is here, too. I don't know. It's it's kind of an eerie, similar thing going on. Oh my gosh, I got cat hair in my throat. That's why you keep cats off your keyboard. All right, everyone, but that's my critique of Dragon's Dogma 2. You all let me know what you think about that in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next video. Till then, keep safe.